Hey, this is Curt Johnson. I want to welcome all my fellow renegades to this presentation of USP. Little play on words there. We'll get to that momentarily. This is a three-part training of how to sell you, and we're going to start with a paradigm shift. The first couple minutes here is just a review. A paradigm, by the way, is a ruling way of thinking. The dictionary puts it, quote, a set of assumptions, concepts, values, and practices that constitutes a way of viewing reality for the community that shares them. And so paradigm is how people think within a community. I remember my first paradigm shift was really culture shock when I entered the United States Air Force Academy. I'd grown up in the Midwest, far from military influence, went right into the academy, which is hyper-intensive military, and it was just a different way of looking at the world, to put it mildly, and different values too. For instance, creativity there is not a high value. Learning is, but not creative learning. And so again, it's a culture shock. Another time I experienced that is when our family moved from living in the Midwest for 45 plus years to the nation island of Fiji. And there it was culture. Again, different ways, different values. Time, for instance, keeping a schedule is a much lower value there than in America. And so a lot of us in our culture, we were raised in a marketing paradigm or a marketing culture growing up, and then maybe trained in it through old school network marketing methodologies. And now we're entering into a new paradigm. And it doesn't happen overnight. I didn't fit into the Fiji Islands just instantly. It didn't all of a sudden make sense. But as you get involved in the community and in the culture, it begins to come and it begins to flow. And so it's good to continue to understand that we are in a new culture of attraction marketing. And as we move forward in that, we will learn things. And so one thing that's helpful is just the foundation that we all have as renegades. One of the foundations, one of the reasons many of us are here is we read The 7 Great Lies of Network Marketing by Ann Sieg. And one of the things that she puts out there right up front is that everyone is your prospect. Of course, that's a lie. We didn't know that was a lie because for me, when I was growing up in the 60s as a young boy, there were 3 TV channels, and one of them came in fuzzy, and it was called broadcasting, because to get to the marketplace, the way to do that in that day and age was just blast, because you didn't have that many venues or conduits to get your message out there. It was called broadcasting. Well, of course, all of that has changed now. Where's narrowcasting? There's hundreds of TV channels, there's millions of websites, there's hundreds of radio stations. You need to find that niche market, that narrowcasting, to speak into a group. So everybody's your prospect is really very, very outdated, not just in our industry, but in everybody's industry. And quite honestly, it's outright a lie. So people who try to be everything to everybody wind up meaning nothing special to anybody. That quote is in The 7 Great Lies of Network Marketing. Another one, lie number 5. I'm not going to go through all 7 here, just real quickly. The ones that I felt applied specifically to this training about selling you. Lie number 5 is we have the best product ever. Quote, the person who succeeds is not the one with the best company, but the one who can do the best job communicating the idea of their company. So again, it boils down to you being a good and effective communicator of what it is that you can value. The focus needs to be on you. Lie number 7 is the proven system. Of course, I fell hook, line, and sinker for that once, that this system is going to do it all for you. And of course, it's just a lie. The question you need to ask yourself, which Ann does in The 7 Great Lies of Network Marketing, is if no selling or anything else is required on your part, then why do they need you? Of course, they don't. And if the system was that great, they would just perpetuate the system and not bother with people. It's a come on. It's a, in worst case scenarios, that's what a scam can often do. Most of the time, it's just, again, unrenewed minds not coming into the new paradigm or culture of marketing that works in this day and age. What we need to do as marketers is find a niche market or a target market and develop a unique selling proposition, but not in the old way. The unique selling proposition that we have to offer isn't just the companies or just the products. There's a couple new, for instance, network marketing companies that have launched with some big celebrity names in business or Hollywood, and that's happened in the past. It's going to happen again. And marketers are selling the company's unique selling proposition in that regard, but it's not going to work for the masses because you are the unique selling proposition that's going to work to attract a niche market to your voice and what you have to say. So as you grow and understand what your niche market is and that you have something to speak into that niche market, we're going to be giving examples through this training series. Then what you'll find as your voice grows and the niche market is attracted to you, then you will have a way to get your product, your opportunity, your company to market. It's a lot like dating, and what's attractive to one person might not be attractive to another person. For example, I work with a guy, great guy, Steve. He's a displaced executive, and what he would put out there as content on the internet looking to attract that niche market of other displaced executives is going to be entirely different than my other friend Wendy, who goes after homeschool moms. Her message and her methodologies are going to be different because what's attractive to a homeschool mom in terms of business is going to be entirely different than what's attractive to a displaced executive. And that's why it's so important that as we develop our unique selling proposition that has centered around who we are and what we're doing, because it's our business, in the creation of our content and our business operations, we keep that in mind. It's me reaching the niche market using the tools that are availed to us through training there, and then also the skills of the consultative selling, both online and offline and on the phone, that I've always believed and always said that if you want the income of an executive, you have to have the skills of an executive. And so we learn the skills, the tools of our trade while we're building relationships. And those relationships are with our customers, our clients, our teammates, our joint ventures, our upline and downline, if that's applicable, on and on. So my message gets to my niche market, and the better I get with my tools and skills and the more and better relationships that I have, the greater will be. So a question you can ask yourself, what can you say to your niche market that no one else can say? It's a good question to dwell upon because that can be at least a part or a component of you attracting people to your message. In other words, tell your story. Stories are so critical. I may end up doing just a training session on telling stories. I've been a public speaker for 40 years, no exaggeration. I started in grade school, and time after time, the messages that I've tried to convey through the years, what people remember is not point 1, 2, and 3. What people always remember are the stories. What people want to hear are stories. What they're attracted to are the stories. Now, it's not just storytelling for storytelling's sake. There needs to be purposes and plans and applications, but you have a story to tell that no one else can or will tell, and that will find a market. For example, I'm going to give you just one example here. In the United States Air Force Academy, I learned how to parachute. In fact, this chute here is very similar to the one that we used. And I remember going up on that airplane. I was scared. I really was. Well, part of the reason I was scared is the jump instructor, after we had had 2 weeks of intense training before we went up in the airplane, the United States Air Force Academy jump team came and was going to do an inspirational jump for us before our first jump. So these guys came down in the squares, if you know what those are, they're fancy chutes, and the team leader landed right in front of us and broke his leg. That was right before we went up for our first time. So, it was interesting. So we go up, and I was scared, jumped out of the airplane, landed, and when I landed, I separated my clavicle. Oh my goodness. And I went to the instructor, they grade you on your jumps, and your jump was fine, your land was fine. They look at you through high-powered telescopes and give you a grade and all that. I thought, oh my gosh, if I did it right and still broke my clavicle. Of course, I didn't tell anybody I broke my clavicle. That's a collarbone, because I wanted to get my 4 jumps and I was going to get my wings. I was a stupid 18-year-old. So anyway, I was going to get this done, even though I was in a great deal of pain, but I was in pain. So I started asking questions to some of those that had a lot of jumps in. And what I found is what I didn't do is I didn't pull down on the little straps. What you do is you reach down, and right before you hit the ground, you yank down on those straps. Somehow I missed that little piece of information, and it slows you down from roughly 25 miles an hour to 12 miles an hour before you hit the ground. Oh, it made all the difference in the world. I was still in a lot of pain by 4 jumps, but I got the job done. The point being, I'm telling you this story because one little bit of information can make all the difference in the world when you apply it, whether it's to parachuting or whether it's to your business. One little bit of information is going to make a significant difference, send you into profit, send you to that next level, and so be looking for that. Now, in that, as I landed, I practiced more, and one of the things, I'm going to attract a market. Let's say I wanted even to go to parachuting to a niche market. I don't think the market's big enough. I haven't done the keyword research regarding and all this, but those that have parachuted, we'd have a lot of fun. In fact, I heard Ann say on a training somewhere that Isaiah, I've met Isaiah, I've been up to Minneapolis, and he's just a great, awesome young man. But I heard that he's parachuting. I don't even know if I caught that right, but let's say that that's true, that Isaiah is doing or has done some parachuting. He and I could sit down and talk for an hour and have a great time comparing notes, telling stories, and all that kind of stuff that most people wouldn't really understand at all or have a clue what we're talking about. I could tell stories into that niche market and make a bridge to build a business. That niche market probably isn't big enough to build a business, but you get the point. You have a story to tell. I just told you a story, made a business application that'll hopefully help you, but you have a story to tell that there is a market out there that wants to hear what you have to say and bring prospects to you. Your USP is about you. It's about your story. It's about attracting a niche market. It's about attracting a target market. And that's why there's so much emphasis within our training of what is that target market for me, because that will determine the type, the flavor, even the amount, even how I go about selling me. In our next training, I'm going to give you 17 practical tips on selling yourself and give you some examples. And some of those will be better for certain target markets than other target markets. And so that's important that you determine who is my target market. This group of people could be a target market, for instance. What something's attracting their attention there. What is it? So then you come up, what is going to attract their attention to me? What is my voice? What is my flavor? What is my contribution to a target market community that I can come in and, if you will, I can land in that market and have a splash or make an influence, or people are interested in who I am and what I have to offer, and build those bridges to business partnership. So as mentioned, in the next lesson, we're going to give you 17 practical tips, but it would be very important that you are, if you haven't already, that you would determine at least a couple ideas, 2 or 3 ideas, what's a good target market for me, so that then you'd have a better application how to apply this tips that I'm going to share into your marketing. So see you next lesson.